Hello, yogis. I hope that this recording finds you safe and feeling well. My name is Katie. I'm one of the yoga instructors with the JCC, and today we have a 30-minute gentle at-home practice that focuses exclusively on the hips. So even in normal times, we store a lot of tension in our bodies, in our hips. So I figured it would be a good time to spend the next 30 minutes just focusing on relieving some of that tension, stress that may have built up. So there is a 30-minute playlist that I put together for this class that you can feel free to use during your practice. You also have the ability to just listen to the silence around you, or maybe it's not so silent because you're at home, or you can also put together your own playlist. That's the beauty about practicing at home. So for this practice, it's going to be a seated practice, essentially, or on our backs, no real standing involved. If you had 2 blocks, that might be helpful for you to help open up the hips. If you don't have yoga blocks, that's okay. You can use large books, maybe to place them underneath the knees. If you have any sort of blankets, you can use them to assist you. So with that, why don't you go ahead and find a nice comfortable position on your back. So if you want to go for a hip opener, you can start in Supta Baddha Konasana, or reclined bound angle pose. So for that, you put the soles of your feet together and just start to make your way down to your back. So you can place the blanket or blocks or whatever you have underneath those knees to support a more gentle hip opening, since we're just getting started here. So the closer the soles of your feet are towards your body, the more intense of a hip opener it's going to be. If this isn't comfortable for you, you can also extend the legs long. Maybe you want to bring the knees to touch, kind of knock the knees together. If you want to start that gentle hip opening, find that Supta Baddha Konasana. And then whatever shape you've taken, let's just start to land here on the mat. So just taking these next 30 minutes to focus on your breathing, whatever sounds you might hear, whatever thoughts that might come, just observe and then just let it go. Start to walk the shoulders underneath your body. You can place one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, and then focusing on our breath. I want you to take a nice inhale in through the nose, and then open mouth, exhale, sigh it out. On that next inhale, concentrate on moving the hand on your belly up. So you're filling the body, filling it with breath. So lungs, chest, belly expand as you inhale. Open mouth, exhale, sigh it out. Let's do that one more time, but on that exhale, sealing the lips together, but still maintaining that sensation in the back of the throat. So you have that ocean sounding breath as you inhale in through the nose, and then exhale through the nose. Do that one more time, inhaling in through the nose, exhaling through the nose. So that Ujjayi breath, or that ocean sounding breath, breath is going to help you through your practice if ever you're feeling stress or tense. So when we're taking a gentle practice, it might not seem as necessary, although when you have some of these hip opening poses, maybe it will be necessary to focus on that breath. But if you ever engage in a more intense practice, or even if you're feeling stressed, focusing on that breath can help bring you back to center. Just take 2 more nice breaths, not trying to control anything about it. So you can soften your face, maybe find a little smile. 1 more breath. Excellent. So from here, you're going to extend both legs long. I'm going to get my bolster out of the way. And then from here, we'll take a wind removing pose on the right. So bringing that right knee towards the chest, you're bypassing the rib cage, clasping your hands onto that right shin, then tucking that chin, rooting both hip bones down to the mat. So when you tuck that chin, it gives you a nice long spine, starting to wake up that right hip joint. So think about sending your breath to any space that feel in your body that feels tense, maybe a little tired. And from here, finding those circles with that right knee. If you notice any place in that hip that feels a little extra tense, you can focus there, you can pause. You want to change up the circles. Take 1 more breath. Excellent. So from here, you're going to plant that left foot down, bending that left knee. Then you're just going to take that right ankle, place it on that left shin. So we're making a figure 4 here to start. So this is also reclined pigeon, so nice gentle way on your knees to take pigeon pose, although we will also take that later on in the class. So you're flexing that right foot to protect that right knee. And then from here, you're just going to lift that left foot so that that left shin's parallel to the mat. So staying here if you'd like. Maybe you want to push gently that right thigh away from you. Also the option to thread the needle here. So you're going to take that right hand underneath that right calf, behind that left thigh, then find that clasp with that left hand. So you might notice that the left knee starts to come in a little bit towards you, and you can use that right elbow to push that right thigh away. So you're really starting to work into that right hip joint. And just focusing on the breath. So take 2 more breaths here. Excellent. So from here, we're going to release the hands, but we're keeping the legs as they are. You're just going to start to let your legs fall towards that left side for a twist here. I don't want to say gentle twist because it's actually a little intense. If you need to grab a blanket block to land that right foot on and keeping that shape, you can go ahead and do that. Otherwise, just let those feet hit the floor. You're still in that figure 4 shape. So you're feeling a nice stretch through that outer right hip, also along that right IT band. If you're a runner, you're going to be really feeling this stretch right here. You can gaze over that right shoulder if you'd want. 1 more breath. Beautiful, coming back up towards center. From here, you're going to extend both legs towards the ceiling and lower to the mat, nice and controlled. And just take 1 breath here. Be noticing if the right side feels any different from your left. And then from here, you're rooting that right heel to your mat as that left knee comes in towards that left armpit. Again, if you want to change the grip here, we have a default grip just based upon our dominant hand and how we carry ourselves. So if you wanted to switch that up, so my dominant, I always have that right thumb first, right forefinger first. So switching that up so the left thumb is in front. So it might be the opposite for you. Then coming to that left shin. You are tucking that chin, trying to keep both shoulders rooted down if you can. And then just noticing, how does this side feel? Where are your thoughts going? You can start to find some circles with that left knee. Maybe change up that direction. Take one more breath. And so from here, we're going to come to that figure 4, opposite side. So you're bending that right knee, planting that right foot, left foot's flexed as that left ankle comes to that right thigh. And you can either just start to push that left thigh away. Maybe that's enough for you. Or alternatively, you start to lift that right shin parallel to the mat, threading the needle here, finding that clasp on that right thigh. Maybe you could change up the grip there too, more difficult. If you want to intensify the stretch, bringing that right knee towards you. Ooh, you can start to feel that in that left hip. So we'll take 2 more breaths. From here, finding that twist, you're going to release that clasp, and you can just plant both hands out. You're going to start to let those legs fall towards that right side as you gaze over that left shoulder if you'd like. So you should feel a stretch through that outer left leg. Two more breaths here. And from here, make your way back up to center. This time, you're going to just clasp the hands underside of the thighs and just take a couple of rock and rolls here. We're going to make our way up to a tabletop position just to get some flexibility, mobility going in the spine before we continue those hip stretches. So making your way to that tabletop position. So stacking the joints, so shoulders stack over the wrists, hips stack over the knees. You can be on the balls of the feet, tops of the feet push into the mat. Then moving with your breath, as you inhale, you're going to lower the belly, gazing forward, heart comes forward for that cow pose. As you exhale, rounding out through the spine, pushing the mat away, tucking that chin for that cat pose. So just taking a few cycles of breath here, so moving with your breath. Any additional movement that feels good. So maybe you want to close your eyes. Maybe you want to rock the hips back and forth, side to side. Take 2 more cycles of breath. Beautiful. So from here, we're going to continue on with our hip opening sequence. So from this tabletop position, you're just going to bring that right foot forward, plant it between your hands. We're going to come to a low lunge. So if you have any sort of knee issues and you want to take a blanket, place it under that left knee. You also have the option to fold your yoga mat over to place that left knee on the mat for a little more support. So you're bringing that right foot forward into that low lunge position. So you don't want to be too forward though, so that right knee stacked over that right ankle. That's what that is. And then to start, you're going to tuck the tailbone. The natural inclination here is for that right hip to kind of sink forward. We don't want to sink forward. We're going to bring that right hip in line with that left hip. So you're really working through that left hip flexor. Oh, I'm also feeling this in the right side too. So maintaining that nice tall spine here. So head over the heart, over the pelvis, feeling that lengthening in that left side. So as you start to deepen the posture, I should have said from the get-go, you can place your hands on your thigh. Maybe you want to bring them on the small of your back, a little bit of a heart opener, chest opener as you gaze up towards the ceiling or the sky if you are lucky enough to be outside. It's snowing today as I'm filming, so I'm not outside, unfortunately. Maybe you can extend your arms up towards the ceiling. So as you start to deepen the breath, then you can start to sink a little bit forward more, lengthening out that left hip joint. Hip flexor, not the joint. One more breath here. And so we're going to plant our hands to frame that right foot, come back to that tabletop position. We're going to come to that left side, but why don't you take a cat-cow here in between sides just to neutralize. So you're going to inhale, lower the belly, gazing forward. What are we neutralizing? Good question you ask. Let's say the hips. So coming to that opposite side, you're bringing that left foot forward. And again, if you need to stabilize this right knee, so left knee stacked over that left heel. And then to start, go to any arm variation that feels good. I kind of like to just start with the hands on the hips to allow me to really set up that foundation for the pose. And then as you get a little deeper with the breath, you can go into that full expression. So tailbone still tucked, always tucked in this posture. You have about 3 more breaths here. Take one more nice breath. So from here, coming back to that tabletop position. Let's find that cat-cow, cow-cat. I'm going to change it to cow-cat, because that's the order we go in. All right, so from here, we're going to come to a lizard pose. So you're bringing that right foot forward again, but this time you're going to bring it to the outside of that right hand. So right foot comes forward, but you have outside of that right hand, so right heel on the mat, right toes off the mat. So typically I like to do this towards the end of a practice, but since we're opening up the hips, and you have the option to make it active, but I'm not even going to tell you that cue because we really just want to focus on the hip here. So nice, gentle, so you're still lengthening through that left hip flexor, also opening up that right hip. So we're here for 5 breaths. A couple of options. You can find the twist where you plant that left hand under the sternum. Push that right thigh away. Gently, when I say push, never really yanking on the body, but with control. Also the option to make this a little restorative, come to a block or the forearms. But I noticed, at least with me, the natural inclination was my shoulders were coming forward. You want to lengthen the spine. You don't ever really want to clench or tighten up. So 2 more breaths. One more nice breath. And you can plant both hands down. So you're going to bring that right knee back in line with the left for that tabletop pose. We're just going to go right into lizard pose on the left side. So left foot comes forward, left heel on the mat, left toes off. So maybe this side feels a little easier for you, or maybe if you're me, it feels a little more intense for you. So going to your edge here, so maybe you're just going to stay upright. You're lengthening through that right hip flexor, opening up that left hip flexor, or that left hip. So you can find the twist by planting that right hand down, pushing gently that left thigh away from you, or folding forward onto those forearms. 3 more breaths. So one more nice breath here in this lizard pose on the left side. So from here, stay in that lizard pose. I'm going to turn to face the camera. So we're in that lizard pose, left leg forward. So from here, you're going to bring that right foot up in that right lizard pose. So we're coming to a yogi squat, malasana. So to do that, you can shift the weight into your hands and into that left foot. And if you need a little more assistance to get there, that's totally great. So however you're going to get there though, maybe you just come to the ball of that right foot, step that right foot forward, right foot comes forward. So those right toes are out, right heel is in, coming to that yogi squat. If you need a block or a blanket, take that block, place it at the base of the sacrum. Little assistance here because this is a gentle practice. So really we want to focus on opening up those hips. So you have that nice long spine, head stacked over the heart, stacked over the pelvis. Those elbows are pushing those knees away. 2 more breaths here. Excellent. So from here, you can remove that block if you have it. So we're mirrored. So I think generally I like to start on the right side, right? So we're going to come to a Skandasana. So typically if I do this in one of our classes that we have, it's more of a power class. We'd be going side to side, but really here I just want to focus on the hip opening. So just plant both hands down, come to the ball of that right foot. Just extend that left leg long. Start to flex those left toes towards you. So you can either be on the ball of this right foot, or you can also release that foot down if you have that ability. I think that's the proper full expression of the pose, but I can't lower that heel. This is Skandasana for me. So we're focusing on lengthening that inner hip, hamstring. And if you want to focus on some balance too, find that nice tall spine. You can maybe bring your hands to heart center. Or not, whatever feels good. You have 2 more breaths. 1 more nice breath. All right, so planting those hands down. So from here, we're going to move to that left side. So walking the hands across the length of the mat. You're sinking into the ball of that left foot, right leg's extended long. Flex those toes towards you. Again, if you can lower that foot flat to the ground, finding your Skandasana that way. You You can also stay on the ball of that left foot. So you have 3 more breaths. Just want to focus on lengthening the inside of that right leg. You can do that. If you want to go for that balance challenge. One more breath. Excellent. So from here, make your way to a nice, easy seat. It's still harder for me to balance on that side from breaking my foot like 6 months ago, but we're getting there. So we took a Supta Baddha Konasana to start the class. So now we're taking Baddha Konasana. So bound ankle closed. We're not reclined because we're sitting up nice and straight. So soles of the feet to touch, opening up those feet like a book, and then the closer your heels are towards you, the more intense of a hip opener it's going to be. So we'll just find a few breaths here in this bound ankle pose. If you like, you could start to walk those hands forward. So using your breath, each exhale, hips, knees get a little bit heavier. You have one more nice breath here. Excellent. So walking those hands up towards you, we're going to find a side leg stretch. So this opens up the lower back, which assists your hip function. So you're extending that left leg long, sole of the right foot along that left thigh. From here, you're rooting your sits bones to your mat. Then you're lifting up from the hips and then just hinging forward. So you should feel a release here in that right low back. Don't focus on reaching those toes. Instead, focus on lifting up, lengthening from your waist, and then shoulders away from the ears. So you have 2 more breaths. From here, walking hands back up towards you. This time, right leg extends forward, sole of that left foot on that right thigh. Inhale, length through the waist. Exhale, hinging forward. Hopefully feeling that nice release on that left lower back. It's one of my favorite low back stretches. So you could take 2 more breaths. And so from here, coming to a frog pose, really nice intense hip opener. We've done this before, but you can't have a hip class without having frog, in my opinion. So folding your mat over to give your knees that support. Let's bring this mat back so I stay in the frame. So knees about as wide as they can comfortably go. So you're going wider than your hips. From there, you're making 90-degree angles with your thigh and shin, if you can. That is a bit of an intense hip opener though, so if that's a little too much for you, you're going to take those big toes, bring them together so that you're almost making a diamond shape with your legs. So finding that space that works for you. So we're gonna find those 90-degree angles. You're gonna stay with that breath. So to start, we're in active frog here. We're ready to hop away. I think it would be difficult to hop from this point. So we're here for about 5 more breaths. So if you start to settle in here, and this is it might bring about some different sensations that might not necessarily feel good, but are beneficial. So as long as you are not in pain, just stick with it for 4 more breaths. If you want to go a little bit more, you can start to come down to those forearms. Maybe you want to relax the head, shoulders away from the ears. So you have 3 more breaths in this frog pose. Two more breaths. One more nice breath. So walking to come out of this, you're going to start to walk the hands back up towards your body. And then I like to just shift the weight into one side, lay it on that other side. You can lengthen your mat back out. From here, we are going to take a pigeon, half pigeon pose. So if that's too much for your knees and you know that, you can take that reclined pigeon that we took on our back when we started class. So you can come to that tabletop position. And then from here, you're going to bring that right knee to that right wrist crease, plant that right shin down. Don't worry about getting that right shin parallel. That's not what we're going for here. A lot of people can't even, it's not even accessible. It's not a safe way to do it. So just ensure that you're flexing that right foot. If you need to place a block underneath that sacrum or maybe under the left thigh to give you some support, you're going to glance behind you, make sure that left hip is in line with that left knee, left ankle. So let's start with that nice tall spine. Make sure you're not clenching that jaw. And as you exhale, you can start to fold forward over that right shin. We are here for 5 breaths. Right hips coming back, left hips coming forward to keep those 2 hips in line. See if you can soften that right side. You have 2 more breaths. One more nice breath. So from here, walking those hands back up towards you. You're going to come back to that tabletop. Bring those hips side to side. Find some circles. Maybe find some fire hydrants. Get that crack in the hip joint. Some circles with that right knee. Before we start to make our way to that left side. So from here, left knee comes to that left wrist crease, flexing that left foot, lengthening through that right leg, just making sure right hips in line with that right knee, right ankle. Nice tall spine to start, and then folding forward over that left shin. So this time, the natural inclination is for that left hip to creep forward, so just gliding that left hip back. Right hip comes forward. You have 4 more breaths. With each exhale, those hips getting a little bit heavier, closer to the mat. Take 2 more nice breaths. Beautiful. From here, walking back up to that tabletop position, this time finding those circles with that left leg, left knee. So from here, to seal out the hip sequence, if you have a block or blanket or a pillow, I'd like to come to a supported bridge pose, because the block puts the pressure on that tailbone and your sacrum, I should say. So, and the pressure stretches out the fascia, the connective tissue that we have in our body. So that helps to relax the hips. If you don't have a block or anything to support yourself in this bridge, just go ahead and extend those legs up long towards the ceiling because we're eventually going to be there. We're just going to take a few breaths in the supported bridge. So bending the knees, lifting up the hips and placing that block. And again, make sure that this is comfortable for you. You don't want to injure yourself. So if placing your weight on this block would cause any issues, just skip this portion, extend those legs long. So you're lifting the hips up, placing the block at the base of the spine on that sacrum, letting the weight sink in there, walking the shoulders underneath. We'll take 2 more breaths. So feeling the support of the block. One more nice breath. So lift the hips up, weight goes into those feet to release that block. From here, extend the legs up long towards the ceiling. No effort here. Waterfall pose. So you're changing up the blood flow. If you want to put your legs up the wall, even if you have a wall around you, as I imagine you might, unless you're outside, just hey, that's cool too. You can do legs up the wall, using the wall to support the legs, even less effort there. We'll take 2 more breaths. So from here, finding that happy baby pose. So knees come wide, a nice crack there. In towards the armpits, tailbones rooted down, clasping the inside outsides of the feet. So trying to root both hips down to the mat, get that nice stretch. You can rock side to side. Come straighten through the legs if that feels good. Take 1 more breath wherever you are. And from here, you can just release that hold. We're going to roll up to a nice comfortable seat. Seal our practice today. Just going to inhale, arms up towards the ceiling, the sky. Exhale, hands to heart center, thumbs along the sternum. You can tuck the chin towards the chest. Just take a nice breath here. Just a moment of reflection. Thanking your body for carrying you throughout your practice, throughout your day, and just for meeting yourself on the mat and being where you are at this moment. What you are doing is enough. Wishing you continued health and happiness. Thank you for sharing your time and your practice today. Namaste. See you soon.